But even amid these conversations and calls for change, especially in situations that impact children, we're learning of a concerning new incident involving a Covington child who, while in crisis, was left in the doorway of a Stanton mental hospital alone, hours away from home, in the early hours of the morning by a police officer. WFXR News has spoken both with the Covington Police Department as well as Senator Creigh Deeds, who represents that part of the Commonwealth and is himself an advocate for mental health. Senator Deeds got the same email that we did from someone who says they work at the Commonwealth Center for Children and Adolescents in Stanton. That worker says this all happened at 5:30 Saturday morning. In the email, they outlined that the child had already been screened in Allegheny County, going on to write that per Virginia code, there was reason to believe the child was suffering from mental illness and there was a, quote, substantial likelihood that they could hurt themselves or others. The worker also says the child was safe in a bed at the Allegheny Regional Hospital while someone tried to get them into one of Virginia's psychiatric facilities for children. However, according to that employee, a Covington police officer drove that child to the Commonwealth Center in Stanton, but that officer did not wait for an administrator. They told the child not to move and drove away, leaving them at a facility without any available beds. Senator Deeds says he was able to confirm that information with the commissioner of the Department of Behavioral Health and Disability Services while at a meeting yesterday in Richmond.
A police officer is supposed to serve and protect, and they're not serving anybody or protecting anybody. You got a child at risk, and that child was taken 75 miles from Lowmore to Stanton and dropped off with their belongings in a plastic bag, and the child was told, like a dog or an animal of any kind, don't move. Unacceptable.
WFXR News did reach out to the Covington Police Department about that incident. Chief Christopher Smith sent out a release saying that based on information from the initial complaint made, he initiated an internal review on Monday, adding that a thorough review will be completed in accordance with department policy and the Code of Virginia.
Now, what we need to figure out is why the police officer did what he did. How long? I mean, this is a big issue. You know, there are for many months, for years, and especially during the pandemic, police officers have been asked to wait for hours and sometimes days.
The employee who alerted people to the issue writes that they fear this is going to happen again, citing other incidents with law enforcement, but not mentioning one specific agency. Senator Deeds says that's why it's important to not just focus on this one bad incident, but to learn from it.
We've got to learn from that incident, make sure that what happens in the future is likely to prevent future incidents like this from occurring.
Now, we've reported numerous times on the issue of law enforcement having to help in mental health situations, sitting for hours or days like Senator Deeds mentioned. He touched on the fact that changes need to be made on the state level. That issue and the need for more resources are two things I actually spoke with the sheriff of Craig County about last week before we knew about this incident. We're going to share my conversation with him and Senator Deeds on that tomorrow night right here on First at 10.